This is the Hyperbase Mix. It's an emulation system that you could use with your PC with an emulation frontend and all the emulators pre-configured and ready to rock, and it's 5 terabytes loaded with retro games. And you can buy this on Amazon. What the heck, man? This is too good to be true. Am I dreaming? Somebody pinch me. Ow. Nope, not dreaming. Wow, I guess this is real after all. Unless... Ow! Hello, hi, I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a hard drive. And this thing is big. I don't mean like physically big. Well, actually it is physically big compared to some small stuff, like this Oreo, or this Oreo, or these Oreos. See, Oreo's small, hard drive big. But I'm not here to talk about how it compares to Oreos. I'm here to talk about how this thing is big in the sense that it's 5 freaking terabytes full of games. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, right after I eat the rest of these Oreos. Oh crap. Bob, can you go to the store and buy more Oreos? I need them for a video. Okay. Thanks, Bob. We'll get back to the Oreos. I'll update you on that situation in a little bit. But for now, let's talk about emulation. I've reviewed a few of these emulation drives on the channel before, but this one is new. It's called the Hyperbase Mix, and it's 5 terabytes loaded with retro games. You could hold a lot of games on 5 terabytes. Not only complete collections of the old stuff, not only complete collections of the early 3D systems, you could pack on a ton of higher end systems like GameCube and PS2. I will include a link to this thing in the description below if you want to pick one up, but I will also link to a list of the games that are on this drive in the description below so you can see for yourself what's on here. Could this really be the emulation game collection that we've been waiting for? It's not much to look at, but neither are you, and we still like you, sometimes. So maybe this hard drive will blow us away. So let's plug this into my PC and CB-weeby what we got here, shall we? Okay, so it looks like we have 3 programs on this drive. Emulation Station, Launchbox, and Play Night. Emulation Station is for your older games, everything before the PS1 and Nintendo 64 era. Launchbox is for your newer 3D emulation, everything up to the GameCube and PS2 era. And Play Night is some other stuff that we'll talk about later. So let's tackle this in 3 sections. We'll do each of these game collections and programs separately. So that means we should probably start at the beginning. Okay, how do I explain this? Babies don't appear out of nowhere. They are the result of a beautiful and natural thing that people do. Some people... when a man loves a woman very much. No, not that beginning. Oh, thank God. The beginning of the ROM collection hard drive emulation station thing. Oh, right. Well, here's Emulation Station. It's a great front end. I love it to bits. We have our systems shown. You can go into a system and pick a game and start the game and play the game. You can use hotkeys to save and load your state, bring up the RetroArch menu, exit the game, and then you can adjust the advanced settings about the system, like the bezels or using a CRT shader if you're into that sort of thing. This is what Emulation Station is about, and it's super nice looking and fun to use and easy, and I love it. 5 terabytes is a lot of ROMs, so let's see how they did with this ROM collection. Looks like they have this category system set up here. We'll go with fighting games. Oh, I wonder if Time Killers is on here. Oh yeah, I used to play this at the arcade when I was a kid. You could like chop body parts off. Yeah, look at that. Freaking awesome, man. And then below that, you have the systems. I'm not gonna read all the systems. I'll just scroll through them quickly and you could pause the video if you want to take a closer look. But basically, all the important stuff is on here. All the old retro systems. You won't see much of the higher end stuff here because that's all over the Launchbox program, but everything up to the 32-bit era, it's all in here. First things first, let's look for duplicates. Lots of these emulation products, these ROM collections, they pad out their lists with a ton of duplicate versions of the same game. And to check that, we have to look at the classic offender, Atari. But hey, look at that. Only one copy of Adventure. No dupes in Atari. That's cool. And we gotta check Nintendo. That's another system that often has a ton of duplicates on these setups, and no dupes here. And as far as I can tell, they're mostly North American ROMs. And Super Nintendo too, no dupes, mostly English North American releases. This is a freaking awesome ROM set. And we'll check to see how complete the ROM set is by doing that thing that we do around these parts, the Doom search test. Yeah, that's all the versions of Doom that I expect to see. PS1, Nintendo 64, and Sega Saturn are missing here, but those are over in Launchbox, so we'll check that out later. This is perfect as far as I'm concerned so far. And glancing through a few of the lists, I'm pretty sure that my assumptions are correct. They are using a 1G, 1R ROM collection. That means one game, one ROM, with priority being English language North American releases. For folks like me who speak English, especially us that grew up in North America, this is an ideal ROM set. So you're not going to have multiple versions of the same game with just different languages. This is exactly what I was hoping to see. Yeah, I've wanted a product with exactly this sort of ROM set available for a long time. These will all be complete ROM sets, apart from one system. I see that they have 3DS here, but there's not a ton of 3DS games, just 21 of them. It's not the end of the world. At least they have a few, but that's one system that's lacking here. And then they probably should have put 3DS in the Launchbox program instead with the higher end stuff, in my opinion. And before we wrap up, let's do an emulation test and see if everything's all set up correctly. What I want to see first is MAME, because those sometimes have core issues. Let's fire up this game, Dractod. Yep, that loaded up right away. Actually, what I want to see is how a CPS game loads in MAME. Let's go with Dungeons & Dragons Shadows over Mystara. No, that doesn't load up here. And even if we try the other cores, this one won't load. That's because this is a CPS game, and they have a separate section for the CPS cores. So you'll need to load it from that section. And it works over there. So that's one thing that's not quite ideal. They have the games that don't work in MAME in with the other MAME games. So if there's a game that you want to play, make sure you check the other sections because it will be playable there. Oh, and Nintendo DS, that's another system that sometimes causes problems with the emulation core. But it's working fine here. And because we're on a PC, we can use the mouse for the touch inputs, which is a great way to play these touch games. And this is also a complete Nintendo DS ROM set, as far as I can tell. And every other game that I tested worked great. All the console stuff, it's all working fine. No switching cores needed. And yes, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, Sega, there's no issues with any of that stuff. I mean, I can't test everything on here, obviously, but this appears to all be configured correctly, and it works fine. So that's all the emulation stuff that I wanted to check out. Very impressive ROM collection so far. So let's move up to the 3D era of consoles. All that stuff they have in this separate program called Launchbox. Lots of you are probably familiar with Launchbox, but for those that aren't, it's basically just a ROM manager. You have all your systems shown on the left, and then you could select your system and view the ROMs list on the right. As you can see, it's being viewed by box art, but we can change that to the game cartridges or logos or screenshots. You can change the view to a list. I like to arrange them by region so that I can find all my North American releases. And then you can pick a game and it tells you about it, and you can double click the game to be taken into the emulation. Let's go through each of these higher end 3D systems one at a time and see how they did with the ROM sets. We'll start with Nintendo 64. We have 385 Nintendo 64 games on here. That's a complete ROM set. And the games are great. What you're seeing here is upscaled to 4K, by the way. Obviously, your ability to upscale will depend on the PC that you're using. Even a modest gaming PC can handle upscaling Nintendo 64 though. And even if you're on a pretty low-end PC, you'll have no problem running Nintendo 64. Next up, we have PS1. 3,591 PS1 games on here. There were 1,686 PS1 games released in North America, so you'd think that this is a complete set, but no, it's not. look at this. I noticed that Final Fantasy 8 and 9 were missing. Everything else I could think of was on here, so it's a pretty big set. I suspect that they had to trim it down so they got rid of the biggest games. Those 4-disc games like Final Fantasy 9. The games ran great, by the way. PS1 is very easy to emulate, even with upscaling, so I didn't expect any performance issues. On to Sega Saturn. 933 Sega Saturn games. Again, you'd think this is a complete ROM set considering there were only 271 North American games, but no, I can see that Panzer Dragoon Saga is missing. I'm not super familiar with the Saturn library, so I can't say what else is missing. Everything else that I know about is on here as far as I can tell. It's a big ROM set though. Tons of Saturn games on here. Nearly every game, I'd say. So whatever, at least it's almost all of them. 301 Dreamcast games. And looking at this list, I can tell that most of these are North American releases. So again, it's probably a complete ROM set. Maybe there's a game or two missing, but I didn't notice any from my limited Dreamcast experience. And again, they play great. They play through RetroArch and no performance issues, and you can upscale if you want to. We'll do PSP next, I think. 406 PSP games. This isn't a complete ROM set, but one good thing here is that these are all North American releases. They had lots that I liked, like the God of War games and the Grand Theft Auto games, but I did notice that Outrun and Crisis Core were missing. So keep that in mind, that your favorite game might not be on here. And before you ask, yes, you can add your own games if the one you want is missing. I'm not going to explain how to do that here though. Okay, on to the big guns. 460 PS2 games, all North American releases. And that's not a complete ROM set, not even close. There were almost 4,000 PS2 games released for North America. But usually we get like 10 PS2 games on these emulation hard drives and consoles, if any. Oh, there's so many amazing games on here. All my favorites are here. I couldn't find anything missing that I wanted to check out. The games run through the standalone PCSX2 emulator. I had a blast testing these games. And finally, everyone's favorite system to emulate, GameCube. We have 451 GameCube games on here, all North American as far as I could tell. There were 656 North American GameCube games released, so we're pretty close to a full set here. I didn't notice anything missing that I'd want to play, although I'm sure there's some stuff that's missing. Again, getting this many GameCube games on an emulation drive is freaking nuts. I've never seen a device with this many higher-end 3D games because they're big files, these games. And GameCube here runs through the standalone Dolphin emulator. They run great, easy to make changes to the graphics or whatever. So this is super cool. Tons of games, tons of high-end games, more than I've ever seen on an emulation product. All great ROM sets too, prioritizing North American releases. Like I said, I'll link to the games list in the description below. You can go check that out for yourself if you want to know what's on here before you buy it. And finally, the last section that we have access to on here is called Play Night. Now, I didn't know that this was on here. I didn't look at any info or whatever beforehand, so I was expecting a retro games collection, like their other products. But this Play Night is PC games. New, modern PC games that you can buy on Steam. Now, this I do not approve of. Retro games are one thing because the vast majority of those aren't for sale currently. You can't buy them and support the devs. So the used market or emulation is the only way to play them. These PC games aren't retro games. They're all being sold on Steam and you can buy them and support the developers. And there's no question in my mind that this is super sketchy and I don't like it and I don't support it and I wish it wasn't even on here. And I hope that this company removes this PC stuff and just puts on those missing retro games. I tested one of these PC games and it's not even an updated version of the game. It's an old version. So no updates, no online features, no cloud saves. Just don't bother with any of this PC game piracy stuff on here. I was hesitant to even show you this, but I didn't want to piss you off if you order this drive for retro games and you were like, oh, what the heck, TechDweeb? What's with all these pirated PC games? Yeah, I don't need my fingerprints on that train wreck. Thank you very much. Just stick to retro games with this stuff. That's what I'm preaching. If you get this product, I suggest you do what I'm doing right now. Just select this Play Night folder and just delete it. Easy as that. clean drive, clean conscience. I mean, as clean as a retro emulation enthusiast's conscience can be, I suppose. So I think it's pretty clear by now that I love this product. I love these emulation hard drives because they come with so many retro games that you don't have to obtain yourself. You can just order it and it shows up at your door and you got like 5 terabytes of games. Actually, it's like 4 terabytes of retro games. There's about 1 terabyte of PC games, but you're just gonna delete those like I did, right? But still, 4 terabytes of retro games is a freaking huge library. I have 2 gripes with the product. Number 1 is that we have 2 different programs to access our retro games. I mean, why did they separate it? It's not the end of the world to have 2 different programs to view and run your games, but it's a bit segmented feeling for no good reason. And my second gripe is obviously that 1 terabyte of PC games that could have been used for more retro games. I mean, we don't have many 3DS games on here, no Wii on here, no PS3 on here, no original Xbox on here. These systems can be emulated and they work great, so why not have some of that stuff instead of a bunch of PC games? That's what I change with this product, but even as it is, it's like the best emulation collection that I've ever seen. Seriously, there's so much to love here. From the completeness of the games libraries, to the number of higher-end systems, to how organized it is and how it's all set up and ready to go and configured really well. I'm giving this a big thumbs up, not because it's perfect, but because it's the best that we have currently. If you're interested in picking this up, I'll leave a link in the description below. And that brings us to the end. This has gone on longer than I thought, but on the bright side, Mom came through with the Oreos. What a sweetie. But before you go, if you wouldn't mind, hit the thumbs up button if you like the video, please. And subscribe, of course, if you haven't done that for some dumb reason. It's freaking free and you get to see more of my videos, so what's not to love? That's it from me. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.